Some names just come and go and stay forever in this building, and our voice of the 80s has one of those names, Craig Reddick.
Hello. Bear with me.
You're not going to sing, are you?
No verse, sorry, I'm not going to sing. One of the things that's interesting before I read, I wrote my speech, and I have to say I hate reading speeches from a piece of paper, but there's so much that I could say, and there's so much detail that I want to make sure I don't miss in my roast of Zurich Public School in the 80s, or I guess my recollection of it. And just in keeping with that theme, as I'm looking at the stage here, Zurich Public School has always been such a unique place, and as shown by the milk crates that hold things. Next time you see a milk crate, I want you to read what's written on the side of a milk crate, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to explain that now. It's illegal to use them for anything other than for milk. Apparently, I don't know. Okay, so Zurich Public School in the 80s. Do the names Kit, Jack Tripper, Duran Duran bring a smile to your face? Do you know what to shout after you hear Moni Moni? Do you know what it means to ask who shot JR? The royal wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana, the explosion of Challenger, Chernobyl, the Iran-Contra scandal, the death of Indira Gandhi, and the Empire Strikes Back. These are some of the defining topics of the 80s, but for some of us, the 80s are also fondly remembered as a time of fun, freedom, and the beginning of our academic journey at Zurich Public School. And there's two people here, I think, were in my graduating class. Paul, I don't know, were we in the same graduating class? You're in a different class, and then Andrea is somewhere. Where are you, Andrea? There we are. All right. Tammy's here too? Oh, Tammy, hi. So I'd like to share a few anecdotes from my memories of Zurich Public School in the 80s, and they are as follows. The style, the photocopier, the science room, the playground, the teacher's lounge, Pipper's bike, hot dog days, and some basic math. To begin, I'll mention, but try to avoid describing in too much detail, the nightmare of soft pink, zipper-tied, powder yellow, tight white panted, puffy frilly prom/wedding dress, hairspray helmet fashion disasters, otherwise known as our grade 8 grad photo. Remiss of a bad impression of Miami Vice on small-town Rome. Also, I should pay tribute to my dad's affinity for wearing track pants and t-shirts to work most days. And not the kind of track pants you want to see, like from Roots or something like that. No, these were just your basic track pants. The photocopy room. It looked like something more out of Greenfield Village Museum, mimicking Thomas Edison's workshop, complete with a manually operated carbon stencil roller copier. Really. You actually had to manually crank it round and round to make copies. Black ink, carbon residue everywhere. It was a disaster as well. Unbeknownst to the authorities at Zurich Public School, the outside world had actually created the photocopier. In keeping with the relative generational delay in technology at Zurich Public School, I introduced the pet. And no, I'm not referring to the alarmingly wide variety of species that was being farmed in Larry Widow's grade 6, 7, and science room, which, while it was a great distraction from actual class, was a blatant bacterial liability in student safety and obviously ignored by the board. Some things lived in there and some things died in there, and sometimes we students were the ones to find and dispose of the carcasses. But back to the pet. So I'm referring to another technological marvel at Zurich Public School. The Commodore PET was the PC of choice in the 80s. We played number-based games on it to waste times, as it hosted the processing capabilities of the modern-day dollar store calculator, only 20 times heavier and 100 times more useless. Remarkably, the playground is pretty similar, notwithstanding the actual play sets and the basketball pad out here. The games that we played, one was mentioned, Foursquare was a big one. We played basketball, baseball, soccer, tetherball, handball, football. What really differentiated was the level of supervision on the playground, I think. One of our unique recess favorites was a game called Murder Mountain. This co-ed game of pain and suffering originated in the winter as cleared snow was piled into the corner of the playground. What it basically involved was, unsupervised, was a rush to the top of the pile at the beginning of recess, and then this brutish, bloody, ruthless attempt to maintain top location by any means possible, as others tried to get to the top. Believe it or not, this game actually had an epic run. It occurred year after year. Back then, we played outside at recess regardless of rain, sleet, snow, and freezing storm-like weather, as the teachers sat snug in their lair. Teacher's lounge. The reason why I say lair is because it was more like a dragon's lair, given the amount of smoke being emitted from the door. Even the couch was brown. So, enter the teacher's lounge. I think that would have been a better title for the popular Bruce Lee movie, Enter the Dragon, back then. You can ask any student of the 80s about their apprehension to go fetch a teacher from this environmental threat. Opening the door was like releasing the fury of a full-blown tire fire at any time of the day. You had to get basically down as low as you can below the fog line just to see more than a few feet in the actual room to witness teachers lurking amongst the dense fog of secondhand smoke. And of course, as we mentioned a few times, we couldn't mention the 80s without paying respect to the late great Don O'Brien. And of course, Pepper. Pepper rode the same bike to work and back every single day that I can remember. If you wanted to know where Pepper was, or if he was even at the school, you would be sent to look for his bike first, as everybody knew at least where that was, parked in the same spot. Is he still here? All right, I just want to be sure that you hear. I thought placing his bike on top of the school in the 80s as a community retaliation for various other social debts owed would have been a quit for sure, but no. Pepper, I think, was spawned from the boiler itself. His office in the 80s was in the back of the little desk in the back of the boiler room, where I think he spent most of his days hiding, sleeping, and students were sent there to fetch tools and buckets and sand to cover the throw-up in the hallways. Okay, hot dog days. The brainchild, I think, of my dad, which I just found out this morning, I guess are still occurring. No, they're not occurring anymore. No, or have recently, for sure. How to feed a school full of kids in minutes flat. Get a massive metal pot, throw as much water and as many hot dogs as possible into it, and then sell them along with a donut or chips and pop. Hot dog days happened regularly and are one of the defining characteristics of 80s life at ZPS. I'm still addicted to Bismarck's today as a result. So in the outside world, one of the biggest 80s moments in Canada, of course, was in April 18, 1982, when Canada gained official independence from the United Kingdom. But at ZPS, the 80s were just one other decade for one teacher. And in 1982 marked 10 years of teaching for my dad, Bob Reddick. Since he's a math teacher, amongst other things, I thought we would honor him with some basic math. So first, let's divide 80 by 2, and then we'll subtract the date, and I might be wrong about this because I was never good at math, even though he's a math teacher. Then subtract the date the school opened, 1965, from today, 2012. Now divide the first total by the second total, and here's what you get. My dad's been teaching at this school for 40 out of 47 possible years, equaling 85% of the total history of this school's success. If you, just hold on. Save it. If you want to know about any decade, you just simply need to go over there and ask him. What's even more crazy, I mean remarkable, is that he's not only going down with this ship, but he plans to swim ashore and board another vessel called the SHDHS. I wonder what they're going to call that now, huh? So I guess I'd like to end my 80s speech by dividing in half and recognizing someone as the foundation of this school's history. He defines why today is important and what it really means to be a ZPS Cougar. He's number 1 on the seniority list at the Avon Maitland, formerly here in Perth, formerly whatever it was originally called, school board. He's given 40 years ongoing, a lifetime, his entire career, a seemingly unending commitment to this school, this community, and literally hundreds of graduating students. And if you think that this is a remarkable accomplishment, I can tell you, it pales in comparison to his contributions and commitment to our family. P.S. I think he's also the oldest player in his baseball league. Talk about not knowing when to quit. So in a last-minute effort, and with the help of the Phantom of the Catacombs of ZPS School, Pepper, we dug up one of the original light covers from one of the classrooms Dad taught in the 80s. And Percy, of course, devised it. It's very delicate because it's just been put together today. So Dad, can you turn it around so everybody can see it? That's one of the original light covers. On behalf of everyone, I'd like to present you with this one-of-a-kind, possibly duplicated, completely useless light cover from your time of teaching at ZBS for not knowing when to throw in the towel.